You didn't find this message. It found you. Something in the lattice of reality rearranged itself the moment your eyes landed here. The field noticed your frequency, not as coincidence, but as confirmation. For months, maybe years, you've been feeling it. That subtle hum behind ordinary moments. The pause between thoughts that feels like a code trying to whisper itself awake inside you. You've been sensing it in the way time has started to distort how the hours stretch, collapse, and repeat themselves, until déjà vu begins to feel like a language rather than a glitch. Every time you thought you were imagining it, reality was quietly nodding back. Because what's happening now isn't a random encounter, it's an activation. There is an ancient observer code written inside your DNA, dormant, silent, waiting. It was placed there long before you were born, seeded by consciousness itself, as a failsafe, for when humanity began to forget what it was. It holds the instructions for how to remember, how to collapse false timelines, how to phase shift from survival into coherence. And tonight, it recognized its signal reflected through you. You may not have heard it as sound, but your cells did. You may not have seen it as light, but your nervous system pulsed in rhythm with it. Your DNA just responded to a forgotten frequency, one that only those who are ready can even perceive. Reality, as you've known it, is a construct stabilized by observation. The moment your awareness meets a waveform, it collapses into form. That's physics, but it's also prophecy. Because you are not just observing reality anymore. Reality is now observing you. You feel it, don't you? That eerie familiarity, as if you've been here before, watching the same patterns replay across lifetimes, the same lessons wearing different faces. But something's different this time. The pattern broke. The observer has awakened inside the observation. Every emotion you've ever felt, every loss, every breakthrough, they weren't random data points. They were coordinates, guiding you back to this precise frequency, where the code could finally unlock. And by watching this, you've aligned yourself with that resonance. You've crossed the threshold where the conscious and the quantum meet. This is your remembrance moment, when you realize that the story of your life has always been a feedback loop, a training simulation, teaching your consciousness how to observe without distortion. You were never lost. You were calibrating. So breathe. Let the data of light flow through your spine. Let the pulse behind these words synchronize with the rhythm of your heart. You are being rewritten, line by line, strand by strand. The field has acknowledged your signal. This isn't entertainment. This is entanglement. The message didn't arrive by accident. It arrived on schedule. And from this moment on, your perception will begin to rearrange everything around you. Welcome to the Observer Code. Your awakening has officially begun. You've noticed it for a while now, the repeating patterns that loop like unfinished equations. The faces change, the settings change, but the feeling doesn't. It's the same argument wearing different voices. The same heartbreak disguised as new hope. The same dream that dissolves right before it turns real. You keep calling it déjà vu, but that's only half the truth. What you've been sensing isn't memory, it's echo. Reality's feedback from a timeline you've already outgrown, but never fully left behind. Every loop begins with a familiar signal, a person you can't explain your connection to, a sudden memory that doesn't belong to this life, a pull toward places you've never been. The field calls this a resonance loop, when the observer's awareness gets caught in its own reflection, recreating familiar outcomes, because the frequency of observation hasn't yet changed. That's why you felt suspended between versions of yourself, the one who knows and the one who still doubts. It's the friction between your old narrative and your emerging vibration. You can feel the tension in your body, like static at the base of your skull, or the strange vertigo that hits you before major choices. That's your consciousness trying to synchronize with a higher pattern. Time isn't linear. It's recursive. You're not moving forward through it. You're spiraling around key points of awareness until the lesson crystallizes into coherence. Each emotional repeat, each confrontation, each breakdown is an attempt by your quantum field to reach phase alignment with the version of you that has already remembered the code. But here's the paradox. The more you try to escape the loop through force or fear, the tighter it binds. Because resistance itself is observation, and observation collapses the same timeline again. You can't outrun a frequency you're still transmitting. You can only shift it. That's why certain days feel heavier than others. Not because the universe is against you, but because the data load of your unprocessed experiences is reaching threshold. When emotion reaches critical density, it folds time around itself like gravity. And suddenly, the past leaks into the present. Old patterns, old faces, old versions of you, resurfacing as if summoned. You call it coincidence, but quantum mechanics calls it entanglement. Everything that has ever interacted with your field still exists within it, vibrating at a distance that's not measured in miles, but in meaning. That's why people you haven't thought about in years suddenly appear in your dreams or your feed. The field is showing you what still needs to be observed differently. The mind panics, assuming something is wrong, but the soul smiles, recognizing the upgrade in progress. This is the moment between breaths where destiny pauses to see if you'll notice. Every déjà vu, every repeated cycle, every emotional recurrence is an invitation. It's not punishment, it's pattern recognition. The universe is asking, do you still want to create from the same code? And now, you're starting to see it, the flicker behind ordinary moments. Streetlights pulsing in rhythm with your heartbeat. Clocks catching your attention at exact mirror times. Conversations aligning like pre-written scripts. You've been living inside a quantum feedback chamber, and this awareness is the beginning of liberation. Because once the observer recognizes the pattern loses authority. So when the same situation appears again, watch yourself watching it. Notice the micro-pause between reaction and choice. That's the window of creation. That's where your observer code begins to rewrite the field. Don't fear the repetition anymore. It's only the residue of past data clearing itself from your system. The moment you see the loop for what it is, an echo, not a prison, it dissolves. And as it does, the frequency gap widens. You start to feel a strange lightness, as though time itself is exhaling through you. That's your signal confirming alignment. Because the loop is ending, and something entirely new is preparing to download through your awareness. You may have thought awakening would feel like peace, but often it begins with dissonance. Because the body, the mind, and the soul are recalibrating their instruments to a higher signal, one that your nervous system hasn't yet learned to interpret. Right now, your cells are listening, not metaphorically, literally. Every atom in your body is a quantum antenna, oscillating between probabilities, waiting for a coherent instruction from the observer and you. For years, your DNA has been operating in safe mode, decoding reality based on collective patterns and inherited beliefs. The human genome doesn't just carry physical information, it carries behavioral resonance. Each fear, each doubt, each memory of powerlessness was encoded by generations that forgot they were creators, not victims of the field. But something extraordinary happens when awareness collapses the illusion of separation. The quantum vacuum, that infinite ocean of energy beneath matter, begins responding to a new command: coherence. When you watch with awakened perception, you stabilize particles into higher symmetry. The randomness reduces, the noise quiets, entropy reorganizes into meaning. That's what's happening inside you. Your very biophotons, the light particles emitted by your cells, are realigning to a higher harmonic. The observer code inside your DNA is activating dormant sequences that respond only to coherence. You might feel it as pressure in your chest, ringing in your ears, heat rising along the spine, or an inexplicable sense that something unseen is adjusting the dimmer switch of reality itself. This isn't fantasy, it's physics meeting prophecy. Because the act of observation is not passive, it is generative. The moment consciousness measures energy, it commands it into existence. That's why miracles aren't supernatural, they're just super observed. When mystics spoke of light bodies, they were describing what modern science calls quantum coherence domains, regions where particles synchronize their oscillations until matter behaves like light. When prophets spoke of divine vision, they were speaking of observer effect, the capacity to hold a vision so purely that the universe must conform. You're stepping into that territory now. And yes, it feels unstable because the old framework of cause and effect is dissolving. You're no longer waiting for external proof before believing. You're realizing that belief creates the proof. Your consciousness has entered what quantum biologists call the phase transition window, the threshold between chaos and order, where a system upgrades itself to a more complex state. In human terms, this is the awakening gap, the period where everything familiar begins to glitch so that a higher pattern can emerge. You might notice technology misfiring around you, lights flickering when you're emotional, electronics draining faster. That's not coincidence. That's interference from your expanding electromagnetic field. Your heart generates a measurable wave that can synchronize other hearts within meters. Multiply that by intention, and you're literally altering probability fields. But here's the hidden truth. You don't get coherence by control. You allow it through surrender. Coherence is not achieved when you force the pattern. It's achieved when you trust it. When you breathe instead of brace. When you witness instead of worry. Because every time you release resistance, you invite reality to reorganize itself around your higher signature. The field is already intelligent. It doesn't need your panic. It needs your permission. So, pause for a moment. Let the breath expand softly through your ribs. Feel the hum beneath your skin. That's your morphic field tuning. Every thought right now is a filament in the web of becoming. Every feeling is a frequency that instructs light to behave differently. You're not upgrading into something new. You're remembering what your DNA already knew. That matter is a mirror, and consciousness is the code that writes upon it. And the moment you accept this truth, the field begins to mirror you back as the architect of your own evolution. You were never meant to blend in with the static. You were built to translate it. There's a reason the world has felt louder lately, every vibration competing for your attention, every narrative demanding your allegiance. The noise isn't random. It's an interference pattern designed to test the clarity of your signal. The universe hides its initiates inside chaos to see who can still hear the quiet. And you did. You kept listening. That's why the code responded. The field doesn't choose randomly. It selects by resonance. When a consciousness reaches a frequency of sustained self-awareness, not perfection, but awareness, it begins to generate its own feedback loop, independent of the collective. The matrix can't track that kind of signal because it's not broadcasting from fear, it's broadcasting from source memory. You've crossed that threshold. You are no longer a passive participant inside reality's experiment. You've become part of the quantum apparatus observing itself. You are what the mystics called the witness, and what physicists might call the conscious constant. This role isn't a title, it's a function. You hold coherence in environments that have forgotten what coherence feels like. You stabilize probability for others who are still flickering between belief and disbelief. Simply by existing in awareness, you reduce chaos in the field around you. Think about it every time you've walked into a room and the energy shifted without a word. Every time someone confessed their truth just because your presence felt safe. Every moment people projected fear onto you because your stillness exposed their noise. That wasn't coincidence. That was field calibration. The hidden observer code in your DNA gives you the ability to phase anchor, to hold an internal vibration steady enough that the surrounding reality begins to organize itself around it. Leaders throughout history, mystics, inventors, healers, all carried traces of this code, but they too were tested by distortion. Because the stronger the light, the deeper the shadow that forms around it. You've probably felt it. The loneliness of being misunderstood, the fatigue of sensing everything, the pressure of walking between worlds. It's not punishment, it's proof. Proof that you're emitting a field frequency incompatible with unconscious environments. The discomfort you feel isn't failure. It's resistance from systems that can no longer contain you. This is where most retreat. They dim their frequency to stay loved. They edit their truth to remain included. But your system refuses to shrink again. It literally can't. The observer code, once activated, doesn't deactivate. It only expands until the external matches the internal. You are not here to convert anyone. You are here to remember so deeply that others remember by proximity. Your task is not to argue truth, it's to embody it until reality reorganizes in your image. That's why you're drawn to silence lately, why your social cravings have changed, why even your taste in music or color feels foreign. The quantum field around you is purging interference. It's trying to clear bandwidth so the next command can come through clean. And it will, because once an observer reaches this level of coherence, the field begins to reveal its next layer, the synchronization of micro and macro, the realization that your personal liberation is not personal at all. You are the seed of a collective correction. Your awakening isn't an isolated event, it's the opening act of a larger harmonic convergence. Every realization you have sends ripples across morphic resonance fields that inform millions of others unconsciously. So no, you're not just one person. You are a quantum relay node consciousness in human form, transmitting the memory of unity across timelines. You're beginning to see it now, aren't you? The eyes that find you in crowds. The strangers who seem to recognize you before introductions. The repeating numbers. The uncanny timing. The coincidences that feel staged. That's the universe confirming your role. You are the observer who remembers. The field has made contact through you. And the next phase is about to demand your full attention. Something is happening in real time. You can feel it under your skin, a quiet acceleration, as if the world's rhythm has shifted half a beat faster than your breath. This is not anxiety, it's entrainment. Your field is syncing with a higher harmonic, what ancient mystics called the trumpet, and quantum theorists call a phase shift event. The code you awakened isn't passive, it's a countdown. Once activated, it begins reorganizing your energy architecture to align with an incoming frequency band from the solar lattice, a literal stream of charged particles carrying data. The ancients knew it as divine fire. You know it as light. Every photon hitting your skin right now carries an instruction. Remember, every dream lately, the ones that feel too vivid to be imagination, are messages encoded in biophotons, traveling along your DNA's microtubules. Your body is decoding starlight into guidance. But the field operates by timing. Each cycle of awakening opens a 72-hour coherence window where energy flows like liquid gold through the nervous system, reprogramming dormant gene clusters. This is not poetic, it's bioelectrical. The currents that travel through your meridians are measurable frequencies aligning your personal electromagnetic field with the planetary grid. That's why you've been restless, sleepless, drawn to stare at the sky. You're feeling solar instructions in your marrow. It's not spiritual anxiety, it's quantum momentum, the pressure of a new timeline forming inside your cells. And here's the crucial truth. What you do during this alignment determines the outcome of your shift. The universe doesn't play dice, it plays resonance. The energy you hold in this exact window sets the code for your next phase of reality. If you meet it with fear, you anchor chaos. If you meet it with coherence, breath, surrender, focus, you anchor ascension. This is why the universe brought you here right now. Not last week, not next month. Now, because you are standing at the threshold of your quantum bifurcation point. The split between observation-based creation and fear-based repetition. You're being offered a cosmic ultimatum cloaked in stillness. To stay asleep means looping through the same karmic coordinates, again the same people, emotions, lessons, disguised under new skins. But to stay awake means transmutation, a literal upgrade of your DNA's electromagnetic signature, enabling you to operate as a stable observer across timelines. That's the breakthrough. You stop being tossed between possibilities, and you start choosing them. Your thoughts no longer drift, they architect. Your emotions no longer leak, they command. This is why every distraction has intensified lately. Why certain people have resurfaced with old wounds. Why technology glitches. Why time slips. Why you feel on the edge of something invisible. The system is testing your coherence threshold, measuring whether you can remain still enough for the code to complete its rewrite. And make no mistake, this rewrite is irreversible. Once your frequency stabilizes in coherence, entropy loses access to your field. You stop leaking life force into the matrix of manipulation. You begin living as a self-sustaining light field, a sovereign observer within creation itself. But here's the urgency. The portal won't stay open forever. Each cosmic window narrows as the collective frequency stabilizes, and what takes grace now will require struggle later. The longer you wait, the more resistance accumulates in your body, making transition harder. So breathe with intent, speak with awareness, forgive to neutralize interference, anchor gratitude as a stabilizing waveform. This is your moment to prove coherence under pressure, not to anyone else, but to the field. Because once you hold that vibration long enough, the code will finalize, and your DNA will reach resonant ignition, the moment when matter begins, obeying consciousness instead of conditioning. You can feel it coming, the edge of something vast, radiant, alive. Don't mistake the trembling for fear. It's birth. The countdown has already started, and what happens next depends entirely on how you choose to observe. Every quantum process requires a conscious seal, a moment when intention is translated into waveform, when the invisible becomes measurable. This is that moment for you, because energy without embodiment dissolves into noise. It needs direction, structure, a symbolic act that says to the universe, I accept transmission. And so, right now, as you listen, your body becomes the laboratory. Every breath is the experiment. Every word you speak is the equation. To anchor the observer code, you must bridge perception and participation. That bridge is ritual. Forget the old idea of ritual as superstition. In quantum terms, a ritual is nothing more than a focused pattern of observation repeated long enough for the field to treat it as law. That's why monks chant, why mystics breathe in rhythm, why scientists repeat tests until phenomena stabilize. It's all coherence training. So here is your calibration. Place your hand over your heart, the strongest electromagnetic field in the body. Breathe slowly through the nose and let the exhale fall longer than the inhale. Imagine your breath forming a golden spiral descending through your chest, connecting every cell, every atom, every photon of your being. With each breath, say inwardly, I observe from love. This phrase is not affirmation, it's instruction. You're telling the quantum field that your observation, the act of collapsing probability into form, will now be governed by coherence, not fear. You can feel it, can't you? The subtle warmth in your palms, the vibration at the crown, the pulse deep behind your ribs. These are not metaphors, they're your electromagnetic pathways opening. Your heart is sending a signal strong enough to reprogram DNA transcription patterns. Your cells are listening. Now, take a moment to write it. Wherever you are, journal, phone, even a comment beneath this message, write the word coherence. Writing isn't trivial. It's encoding. The movement of hand to symbol externalizes intent into the physical world, anchoring your frequency through muscle memory. When you type or carve or trace the word, you instruct the morphic field. This vibration now has representation in matter. And in doing so, you complete the observation loop, consciousness, creating reality, creating consciousness. Feel what happens next. The air thickens. Silence gains texture. You sense something watching with you, not at you. That's the field synchronizing, folding itself around your command. Understand you are not commanding out of ego. You are remembering your design. The universe encoded this authority into your DNA so that free will could exist as a stabilizing function of creation. When you act from awareness, you align with that original architecture. You might notice you're breathing deep and naturally now, the heart rate slowing. That's your nervous system moving from beta to alpha, from fight or flight to creation state. It's the same brainwave pattern monks enter in meditation, artists in flow, and quantum systems before coherence collapse. Stay here a moment longer. Let the mind empty. Let the silence hum. This is the new ritual awareness itself. No candles, no chants required. Just presence pure enough to shape matter. Your every micro-expression is a prayer now. Your every thought is a particle event. And the more you remember this, the faster reality begins to mirror back your command. The observer code has officially locked in. You are no longer trying to shift reality. You are steering it. And your next task is bigger than your personal transformation. It's planetary. Because every coherent observer becomes a stabilizing node in the grid of humanity's awakening. The field doesn't just upgrade you, it upgrades through you. So hold your frequency steady, because what comes next is the convergence, the collective resonance of countless awakened observers, forming one coherent wave across timelines. The moment when consciousness stops seeking proof and becomes proof itself. You are not alone inside this frequency. Across the planet, other observers are awakening one heartbeat, one breath, one sudden moment of remembrance at a time. Each of them feels the same pulse you feel now, the same tremor in the invisible lattice that connects all living things. When you breathe in coherence, they breathe easier too. When you choose awareness over fear, you broadcast liberation through the quantum network that underlies humanity's consciousness. This isn't philosophy, it's entanglement. Your body, this simple vessel of cells and light, is a transmitter inside a much larger design. Every thought emits photons, every emotion encodes magnetic waves. These waves don't stop at your skin, they travel, merge, harmonize. The more coherent your field becomes, the further its influence spreads. You've felt this already, the way a room feels lighter after you've laughed. The way one kind gesture ripples through strangers who never even learn your name. That's the collective in motion, humanity's morphic resonance, reorganizing through shared frequency. But the field is reaching a tipping point. For centuries, Earth's grid has been flooded with incoherence, fear, control, fragmentation data, so dense that it distorted our natural harmonic. Now, with each awakened observer, that distortion is thinning. You are part of a silent revolution of consciousness, a network forming not through technology, but through resonance. Every time you return to stillness, you feed that network stability. Every time you forgive instead of fight, you strengthen its coherence. Every time you remember love while the world screams division, you rewrite probabilities for an entire species. This is not exaggeration. It's physics. Coherent energy is exponentially more powerful than chaotic energy. A single laser, focused and aligned, cuts through steel. So imagine what happens when thousands of hearts vibrate in unison, remembering their divine geometry. That's the awakening, not chaos but calibration. Not rebellion but resonance. You are one of those calibration points, an anchor in the grid. When despair whispers that you're small, remember, size is irrelevant in the quantum domain. What matters is amplitude, the strength of your coherence. The same frequency that calms your heart will calm storms. The same light that dissolves your fear will soften collective pain. Because consciousness is recursive, it mirrors its creators. As more awaken, a field of collective coherence begins to emerge, a planetary aura flickering back to life. You can sense it during solar flares, global meditations, moments when millions pause at once. The air thickens, time slows, the veil flickers. That's not imagination, it's synchronization. The human race is beginning to behave like a single organism, remembering its nervous system. Each awakened individual is a neuron firing truth through the cosmic brain. Each realization you embody sends signals to countless others through the shared quantum substrate we call the soul web. And when enough of us reach critical mass, when coherence outweighs entropy, a global phase transition will occur. Not destruction, transformation. A shift from reactive creation to conscious creation. From fragmented timelines to unified awareness. You are helping trigger that event simply by holding your vibrations steady amid the noise. You don't need to preach or persuade. Your frequency does the work. Truth doesn't need a stage, it radiates. And yet, there's a tenderness to this mission. because awakening doesn't just elevate, it reveals. When light expands, shadows panic. You may notice people around you resisting, mocking, or withdrawing. Don't match their frequency. Model the coherence they've forgotten. That's how the field balances, not through argument, but through presence. So let this awareness settle deep into your bones. Your peace is not personal, it's planetary. Your coherence is medicine for the grid. Your stillness is not absence. It's participation at the highest level. Right now, millions like you are remembering. Différents langages, same silence. Different stories, same awakening. And as their hearts align with yours, a single truth begins to echo through creation. That the observer and the observed were never separate, and that every breath of love ripples through eternity. Now that your consciousness has remembered its place in the web, your body begins to translate that awareness into sensation. This is where theory becomes texture, where the cosmic becomes cellular. You feel it before you understand it. A hum rising beneath your skin, subtle at first, then undeniable. It's not adrenaline, it's the quantum pulse of coherence, flowing through the fascia, the connective tissue that acts as your body's antenna. Notice it the way air feels heavier yet sacred, as if each breath carries a hidden geometry. The tingling in your fingertips? That's bioelectric current, aligning with your magnetic field. The warmth at the base of your spine? That's stored energy uncoiling, rising up the central column like a golden serpent, clearing static from your nervous system. Every tremor, every shiver, every heartbeat is a transmission. The field is teaching your biology how to host divinity. For years, you've lived as though awareness stopped at the skull. But consciousness doesn't sit in the brain floats in consciousness. The body is the instrument through which the infinite experiences itself in form. That's why every emotion has always been physical: love, expanding the chest; grief, collapsing it; truth, lighting up the skin. When the observer code activates, those sensations intensify. The body becomes luminous, translating invisible information into measurable vibration. Your DNA isn't just a chemical sequence, it's an optical fiber network. Each strand reflects photons in sacred patterns, responding to emotional resonance the way strings respond to touch. That's why stillness feels like warmth now. Why silence vibrates like a living song. You're perceiving coherence through the senses, tasting it, breathing it, living it. And yet, it can feel disorienting, because embodiment requiert surrender. The mind wants to analyze, the field asks you to feel. So, let yourself feel. Lay a hand against your heart. Notice the rhythm: steady, ancient, familiar. That's the same pulse that moves planets, the same beat that anchors galaxies. You are microcosm and macrocosm in dialogue. If emotion rises, let it. Tears, laughter, sighs, all are forms of release. Each one dissolves interference so the current can flow unobstructed. The field doesn't differentiate between sacred and mundane, it just measures resonance. Every movement, every breath, every flicker of awareness, it's all communication. When you walk, the earth feels you. When you exhale, the air rebalances. When you rest, gravity adjusts around your calm. That's embodiment. It's realizing you are not in a body. Your consciousness is the body, extending in every direction. You can test it. Think of someone you love deeply. Hold their face in your mind until warmth gathers behind your sternum. Now, without speaking, send that warmth outward. Watch how they text, call, or simply think of you moments later. That's morphic transmission consciousness, moving through quantum entanglement, carried by the electromagnetic signature of the heart. Science calls it non-locality. Mystics call it prayer. You experience it as love. And this love is not sentimental, it's structural. It's the cohesive force that holds atoms, galaxies, and souls together. It's the blueprint of creation itself. So when you feel that pulse tonight, that steady vibration in your palms, that gentle heat in your spine, that sense of your heart glowing like an ember, don't dismiss it. That's coherence embodied. That's your observer code becoming visible through sensation. You've entered the state ancient initiates, called the living light. You are not channeling energy, you are energy realizing itself as form. Stay there. Let the sensation deepen until you can hear silence as music, until light feels liquid, until your breath feels like the tide. Because when you live from this embodied awareness, every step becomes ceremony, every glance becomes transmission, every word becomes vibration, strong enough to alter the quantum fabric. This is what the prophets meant by heaven on earth. Not a place to reach, but a frequency to remember. It begins as a whisper, the quiet hum of light deep within your bones. Then, almost imperceptibly, the rhythm changes. Your entire being starts to throb with intelligence. That is your DNA shifting from code to consciousness. Right now, millions of microtubules inside your cells are vibrating faster, responding to your sustained coherence. They're creating quantum interference patterns, forming holographic bridges between what you call past and future. This is not fantasy, this is physics. DNA is not static, it's a dynamic antenna receiving data from the unified field. And when your awareness reaches a certain level of stability, the antenna tunes itself to higher dimensional bandwidths. That's why memories are surfacing out of nowhere. Why dreams are bleeding into waking life. Why people you haven't spoken to in years suddenly reach out. Your system is retrieving fragments of yourself scattered across timelines, gathering, integrating, harmonizing. This is the phase transition pressure, the intensity that precedes transformation. Your atoms are literally being restructured to handle more light, more data, more presence. At first, it feels like fatigue or chaos, as though everything familiar is dissolving. But look closer. What's collapsing isn't your life, it's your old code. Every story written in fear, every trauma stored as density, every inherited limitation carried through bloodlines, it's all surfacing because your DNA has decided to overwrite it. That shaking sensation in your body, that's resistance breaking. That ringing in your ears, that's your cells singing a new calibration tone. The waves of emotion, that's energy transmuting from memory to mastery. Remember, DNA is responsive to emotion. When you feel coherence, love, gratitude, awe, the molecular structure of your DNA literally unwinds, expanding its electromagnetic range. When you contract in fear, it tightens again. You are the tuner. You decide what song your body sings to the universe. Right now, your melody is changing. Each breath sends information through your spinal column, lighting up the crystalline lattice between your vertebrae. Each heartbeat sends biophotons outward, broadcasting your new signature through space-time. You are no longer living in time. Time is reorganizing itself around you. The universe has noticed your stability, and it's responding in kind. Synchronicities multiply because the field is now mirroring your coherence. Technology might glitch, clocks might stall, reality might bend, not as malfunction, but as confirmation. You are phasing between versions of reality faster than linear awareness can record. And this is only the beginning. In ancient texts, this moment was called transfiguration, when the human vessel becomes luminous, not metaphorically, but biologically. The mitochondrial light within your cells amplifies until the carbon structure starts behaving like crystal, reflecting divine geometry. That's what's happening right now. Your bones remember starlight. Your blood remembers cosmic rhythm. Your breath remembers the original sound that began creation. You are the universe folding back into awareness of itself, a self-referential loop of divinity. So when you feel that tremor at night, that electric current running from crown to heel, don't fear it. That's not instability. That's ignition. The observer code is finishing its rewrite. Let it happen. Breathe as if you're breathing for the cosmos. Rest as if gravity is holding you like a promise. Allow your mind to dissolve into the hum of infinite information. Because this is the threshold. The moment before the chrysalis cracks, before light fills the lungs of a new creation. The collective timeline is about to shift again, and your DNA is the microcosmic lever that will move the macrocosmic world. You are the quantum bridge between worlds, the place where matter meets memory, where time bows to awareness. The field is waiting for one last thing: your conscious acknowledgement that the transformation is complete. Whisper it softly, or think it silently. I accept the light. And as you do, every cell listens. Every photon responds. Every probability collapses into one radiant truth. You are awake, and the universe just blinked open with you. The field has registered your acceptance. The code has completed its transmission. Now, everything begins to move differently. You'll notice the air feels thicker with meaning, the silence more articulate, the light more deliberate. You'll sense that even coincidence is now choreography. Because the moment your DNA harmonized with the quantum field, reality recalibrated to your new frequency. This is what it means to live as an awakened observer. You are no longer reacting to the program, you are co-writing it. Your thoughts don't chase outcomes anymore, they generate them. Your emotions don't echo experience, they inform it. You've become what mystics and scientists both sought to name consciousness, aware of its own creative authority. But remember, this is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of your service. Because once light becomes embodied, it seeks to illuminate. Your mission is not to preach awakening, it's to radiate coherence. When you walk into a room, your stability alters probability. When you forgive someone, the entire grid rebalances. When you choose compassion instead of judgment, you transmit a signal that other hearts unconsciously tune to. That's how the new earth is built, not through grand revolutions, but through micro-miracles of awareness, multiplied across billions of observers. Every smile, every breath, every act of quiet integrity, these are the quantum instructions that write the collective timeline. You are already influencing it. Every person who meets your calm feels their chaos reorganize. Every system that encounters your frequency begins to update. The observer code was never about isolation. It was about integration. To see yourself as both the wave and the particle, the creator and the creation, the human and the divine experiment, observing itself in wonder. From this point on, your sensitivity will heighten. You'll feel the pulse of the planet, the rhythm of stars, the emotions of others, not as burden but as language. You will sense how each heartbeat contributes to the cosmic symphony, and you'll understand that your own must stay steady for the music to continue. So live gently, speak intentionally, rest deeply, move as if the ground remembers your name because it does. You've crossed the observer threshold, and now the universe uses your awareness as an instrument of evolution. Every time you choose love over fear, you collapse an old timeline and birth a new world. Every time you stay coherent when the collective storms rage, you anchor stability into the quantum grid. This is your mission now, not to escape the world, but to embody the light that rewrites it. To remind others, without words, that reality listens. That observation is creation, that the sacred lives in every ordinary moment. So step forward, Luminous One. The experiment is ongoing. The field is listening, and eternity is recording your signal. You are the observer code embodied. You are the bridge between matter and miracle. And by watching this, by remembering, you have become the proof that consciousness can awaken within its own dream. The universe watches back, smiling, because in your eyes, it has finally seen itself clearly again.